Hi, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. Joined, as you know, part of the Fans First Sports Network, joined by my good buddy John Shop, who has been a long-time contributor with me, many, many years, almost, sorry about that. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, John?
I did
I'm
not.
sorry. Okay, good. My phone just went off in my
Oh,
text
ah,
alert. My son set it to something pretty funny, so I apologize about that.
oh,
But um and he's joined me now for almost 15 years. He's got his own podcast on the Fans First Sports Network called the Spartan Pride Podcast. John, it's not going to be as long of a podcast as we usually do, but it's all technically Raiders. Had some news break earlier this week from down in New Orleans. I want to read you a quote by Derek Carr. Quote, they, talking about the Raiders, just didn't get my best. And that drove me crazy at the end of the year because I felt so spread out in so many different ways. Now, he went on, I just didn't feel like myself, and I feel bad for the Raiders, coaches, and players. Now, unquote. I want to talk about this quote for a minute because I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was typical Derek Carr. Um, and what I mean by that is whether you love Derek or hate Derek, and boy, he's very polarizing here, even though he's gone. Derek's always been straight up. He's always been a guy that just is going to tell you now, in the interest of fair disclosure, I think if you were to ask Derek, he would tell you that we're friends. And so I don't say that because I don't think I can be fair. I just say it because maybe I'm willing to admit it in case somebody wants to view what I say through a skewed prism. That's fine. Um, I think it was best for both parties that there was a divorce. So I'm not one of these people that thinks Derek Carr should have stayed. But I think it was Derek just being completely honest. You know what? They didn't get my best. I wrote, as you know, extensively about the divorce. Um, I think there was fatigue by Derek with the organization. I do not in any way think that he hated Josh McDaniels at all, nor Josh him. Um, matter of fact, I know that 100% for fact. And the marriage just didn't work. I think the Raiders wore on Derek. You may remember my article at one point, another person, another NFL executive said it just looked like on the sidelines this organization had worn him out. I appreciated what Derek said. Most players would not have said that at all. I think it shows you his heart. I think if you are his publicist, you're cringing. If you are his friend, like I am, I think you're applauding his honesty. But at the end of the day, I think his comment showed what people love about Derek is he's genuine. But I think it also, if you're a Derek fan, boy, it really shows his genuine heart. But if you're not a Derek fan, I think it also shows, see, the organization was right to move on from him. It's one of those few times. I think the only loser in this statement, and the loser is if you're only looking at it from a PR, is Derek. Both sides win. Your thoughts on the comment?
yeah, it is interesting. It's really a new era. This is nothing like we would see in the past. We would not see anything like it, really, in the history of the NFL. What it looks to me like is a guy that maybe recognizes after reflection he practically was trying too hard. The wheels
Mm-hmm.
might have been spinning, and as they did that, they wore down the tread. So I would think that it's productive and it helps take the burden and remove it, to kind of accept the fact that, hey, maybe I was trying too hard. I'm sorry, it didn't work out. And it actually probably lifts a little bit of a burden off of him to go into New Orleans with a very clear head and go forward, while essentially leaving best wishes behind him. He doesn't appear to have any ill will. And I think it's a sign of professional maturity if you can recognize this didn't work. Maybe I was pressing too hard or trying too hard, and or what we tried here did not, it just did not work. I don't have a dog in the fight. I observed Derek Carr, but I'm neither a fan nor a hater without any reason to be. But what you saw there was somewhat of a misfit. And it's one of those things where maybe if the regime had gotten there 3 years before, the timing might have been different and better, and it might have worked out.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a player with that much success and that much optimism and that much of a desire to do well, it can make the slippery slope worse when it kind of doesn't go that way. Look, what happened at the end of last year was very strange. It was nearly unprecedented. We don't know if it's going to set a precedent around the sport or if people will be like, we're not going to do that again. It's bizarre all the way around. And one of the few blemishes about the NFL that can come in sometimes is it is a business first, not necessarily a passion. That used to be the biggest difference between college football and the NFL, is players playing for a passion or for playing for a business first. So there's a lot thrown into that mix itself. The statement itself, I think, is a little bit of a surprise. The timing of it is probably pretty good. This is not a statement that should be made at any other time of the season. Let me give you an example from Atlanta, from Freddie Freeman, the Braves first baseman for years and years and years. There was a miscommunication, a failed communication, some kind of rotten divorce that neither side really seemed to want to happen. So out Freeman goes to the Dodgers. It's not really dealt with. They're in the season. He comes back into Atlanta. Some things are said that create a problem in his clubhouse briefly and don't look so good, to be honest with you. There's Freddie Freeman returning to his home. He didn't want to go. There's tears on the field. It's a very strange type of thing. So to his credit, and I would be surprised if Derek Carr was unaware of how that unfolded.
Mm-hmm.
His credit, he takes care of this really early in the season, even before July 1. And in his mind, he puts it away and it's done and gone for good. The Raiders may have to handle a few questions about it early in the year, but it also provides some closure and puts it away for good. This is a new era. This is not something we would see before. We may see it again. And it's possible that the way Derek Carr's handled it is going to become the model for how guys move on to their next professional opportunity, if you will. This seems to be relatively genuine. It doesn't appear like he's taking the high road or not saying anything in public. He's not sliding things to media or other people behind the scenes saying, well, here's the real story. This appears to be a pretty clean and genuine thing. And if it is, both sides are going to be able to move forward pretty easy.
Yeah. And, and to Derek's credit, and this is going to get me lambasted with email, because you can't say anything about Derek till one side just attacks, and it's ridiculous. But he is my friend. And you know what? I think he needed to move on. I think it was better for both parties that he moved on. But to me, it's just Derek again being a class act. If you don't like the way he played the quarterback position, that's fair. But you can't attack character at all with Derek. I'm proud to call him a friend. All right, you touched something that I want to get to super quick, and I'd never thought about it before, and I credit you. You said about passion. It used to be NFL was business, college was passion. And now with NIL money, you're seeing college become business. And now that I'm covering it, I'm seeing the passion every day. I think it's funny how the sports are flipping a little bit, don't you?
Well, funny is one way to look at it.
Unique.
Yeah, here's something that's going on, and it's happening faster. It's happening in real time. You're having major recruits, especially at the quarterback position and some of the skill positions on offense, explaining to teams, my plan is to play for more than one school, maybe as many as 3, but probably 2. And so I'm interested in playing with you guys, but I'm going to move on in a couple of years to another school, a different conference, a different system, because it's in my best professional interests. If I'm going to play in the NFL, what are the chances that I'm going to play for one coach, one system the whole time? very, 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 very small. And we're already seeing that as recently as some of the transfer portal moves this year at that sport. So it is clouding the waters, and they are kind of turning over and getting mixed a little bit. When you look at the number of college players, there's thousands. When you look at the number of NFL players, there are not many. And there is an argument to be made that most of the guys on the NFL roster are really playing. They want to play for passion most. The best ones are probably playing for passion most. And when I mean best ones, I mean the ones that are laying it all out there, getting all that they can out of their bodies and their football minds, and being able to produce at a professional level. You look at it on paper, those guys aren't always first round picks. A lot of times they're not, and they're considered overachievers. And then you look at some other guys that are just tremendous, that are first round picks, that are Bosas, if you will. So the waters are mixing a little bit. And the very best of the NFL, is so good because the passion kind of leaps forward. It's like, okay, these guys love the game that much. They're doing it that much for the game. And that's the best of college too. But now it's really getting colored and mixed and diluted. And we don't know what that's going to look like. When you look at the two games right now, the NFL is on much more stable ground. It's got rules, regulations, salary caps, rookie scales, etc. Like, woo. And you look at the college game right now, and it is like a wild animal that's been let out of a cage, and it's slashing and crawling. It doesn't even know where it wants to go. So the contrast between the two, which used to be pretty strong, is now getting a lot closer and trickier to, it's a little trickier to decipher, if you will.
I agree. John, thanks for joining us. As always, I'm Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast, part of the Fans First Sports Network. He's John Shop. Check out his pod on the FFSN Network, Spartan Pride Podcast. Thanks, John.
Thank you.